Yeah. Hello, welcome to the gig. I am a guy with too many sneakers sitting across from a guy with too many hats. As we are here, broadcasting live, I gotta tell you that camera angle is a little too high. There's too much going on up top here. Yeah. So we will make technical adjustments in the middle of the show here real quick.
It'll be like we have a cameraman here.
Yeah. This is the Gig Podcast. We debated whether we shall or shall not broadcast this evening because of the Birds playing.
Right.
Now, to me, the idea of football hasn't mattered since I played for the 95-pound Colts when we had the jersey with the horse on the sleeve that had 5 legs. We had a 5-legged horse on our jersey.
That wasn't a leg.
Well, they shaped it like a leg, but it was to let them know, like, you're dealing with a team with
this is where you stand, sir.
With a strong wang.
That was the name of our kicker, John Wang.
John Wang. He was who was my kicker then? I don't remember. Murph Trout was our kicker in Washington Township. Murph Trout's dad was something else Trout. Coach Trout.
Coach Trout.
And Coach Trout was a kicker for the Steelers at one point, if I'm not incorrect.
Look at the lineage.
Maybe it was somebody else. But Murph Trout, the thing about Murph Trout, he was a phenomenal kicker.
Okay.
Way beyond the skill set that a 12-year-old kid should have had.
Okay.
He was knocking them in from 35 yards, right?
Gotcha.
Splitting the uprights at 35 yards.
It.
And when you were at that weight class, like 110s, and I don't know if 110s or 115s and 135s was the next one after 115s.
Right.
I don't remember, but I believe that running it in for the point after was 1 point, and kicking it, you got 2 points.
They reversed it on you.
So we were getting 2 points every.
Just picking them up all over the place.
Yeah, every touchdown we were getting 2 points. I played for some very good midget football teams. I was always on a decent. I never had a losing season.
You think it was about you or the rest of the team?
No, it was the team.
Oh, okay.
I'm a man who understands that football is a team game.
You got a role to play, but you can't do it all by yourself.
I'd say about 30% of my life lessons came from midget football.
Right.
Then you got probably about 55 to 60% of my life lessons came from jail.
Okay.
And then the other 10% came from Dino Mike.
Well, there you go. So your entire life was formed by the time you were 25 and you haven't learned or grown since?
Listen, if I tell you like it really is, my life has been formed and it has been written since before I was here.
Right. It's predestination for you.
Yeah. So, but since it's Monday Night Football, a football story just popped into my head. I don't know if I ever told you this one, so I'm going to tell it to you.
Let's go.
So, I begged my mom for years to let me play football.
Pee-wee football.
Yeah.
Was it Pop Warner for you, or was it just Pee-wee?
We called it midget football.
Okay.
I don't know. And I was like, Ma, I want to play midget football. And she was like, well, but you're a full-grown person. Like, come on, Mom. You know what I mean. So I begged her for maybe 2 or 3 years that I wanted to play organized football.
Okay.
When I was 10, here's a little gem for the younger gentlemen, for the 9, 10-year-olds who are watching.
Who are tuning in,
yeah. I told her, I said, Ma, I'm going to put it to you like this. I'm playing tackle football in the neighborhood, in the street, on driveways.
Right.
You might as well let me play with some pads and a helmet.
Let's get it sanctioned at least.
And that sold her on it. So then so 4th grade, I finally got to play midget football.
So this is the if they're going to drink somewhere, they might as well drink at my house policy.
Yeah.
At least they can keep an eye on them.
That's how it played out for me for football. So through elementary school, one of my very best buds was Brian Manowitz.
Okay.
Brian Manowitz, another Polak.
Sure.
He was another handsome Polak.
Well, aren't they all?
I would assume, actually, related to Ed Manowitz, who's
the Ed Manowitz?
The Ed Manowitz from the They have a scandal or something with Ed Manowitz, the Birds?
Oh, did they?
Yeah, Ed Manowitz was involved with the Birds, and maybe he was involved in a scandal, maybe he wasn't. But the other Ed Manowitz Sr., was my football coach of the 75-pound GT ponies.
Okay.
And so me and Brian have played football together from the time we were at recess in kindergarten. We were like Aikman and Irvin.
Okay.
We were like Randall and
Calvin Williams, Freddie Barnett.
Okay. We were like Steve Young and
Jerry Rice.
I was trying to think of someone who wasn't Jerry Rice.
John Taylor from Pennsauken?
There you go. Yeah, more like that.
Yeah.
More John Taylor than Jerry Rice. Now, you know what it was?
You were Peyton and Marvin Harrison?
We were Brady and Gronk. Yeah. Or who else was a solid tight? Who's a real good tight end back in the day?
Tony Gonzalez.
You know what? Brian Manowitz would have preferred us to be
Tony
Gonzalez and Joe Montana.
There you go.
Because Joe Montana was his favorite quarterback and the Kansas City Chiefs were his favorite team.
That works out well for him.
Yeah. So I finally play football. He's been the starting quarterback since he started playing.
Okay.
I go play. Since we've got this chemistry we've been building on the playground for years.
Right.
I get the starting tight end job for the 75-pounders.
Excellent.
We have a decent season. We weren't undefeated, but we made the playoffs. So we're in maybe the second round of the playoffs, playing the game that brings us to the championship.
Okay.
Against the Pittman Pumpkins.
The Pittman Pumpkins.
Now, we blew them out early in the season, and now in the playoffs, these guys all of a sudden somehow get to the playoffs and put up a little bit of a fight.
Okay.
It was a strong defensive game. We're talking a 0-0 game. Maybe it was a 2-0 game at this point. It was 3-0 or 2-0, and a safety, in my mind, seems more likely than a field goal from 75-pounders.
Yeah.
Because they're like 8-year-old kids.
Yeah, they ain't putting the ball through the uprights.
So they're up 2-0. And we're in the fourth quarter, and Coach Ed says we're going to run whatever the play was called. They always said you run a banana route. I've never heard of a banana route anywhere else.
Okay.
But this is what they told me I'm doing. You're running a banana route.
I know what a banana route is.
You know, you jam the defensive end.
Right.
And then you do a little scoop.
Like a light curl over the top.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, hit me on the banana route. So I say, I jam the D end, and I turn around on my banana route, right? And I catch it. Perfect pass, puts it right there. I mean, it was only 3 yards from where he was standing.
That's a lot for little kids, though.
Yeah. So I get it, and I don't see any light down the center of the field. So I'm like, well, I had speed at this point.
Okay.
I was a pretty fast, relatively fast. I was never the fastest.
Right.
But I had enough.
You had enough. You hadn't banged up your knees installing floors yet.
Right. So I break for the sideline. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to turn it up outside, and let's see what we could do here. We're down to seconds on the play clock.
Okay.
And this is around midfield. I think we're maybe into our territory, less than 10 yards. We're not past the 40. Take this route, see nothing up the middle, so I turn towards the sideline, and I'm stretching it. I'm trying to stretch it all the way out to the sideline.
Right.
But their outside linebacker or safety maybe has the angle on me.
Okay.
So I can't turn it up. So he just keeps – I'm
tracking.
Still just trying to get to the sideline and see what happens.
Right.
I make it to the sideline, and I stop. And I vividly remember stopping, and I look down at my foot, and I spin backwards.
Okay.
This guy keeps running into the sideline. I got my spin move, and now it's daylight for 40 yards.
Hit the C button on the controller. And
That's
you're
it,
off.
dude. Just start jamming the C button as quick as fast as I can. And I'm off, dude. And I'm going. And this is maybe my second touchdown that I've ever scored.
Okay.
So I'm like, I'm going, dude. My burners are on. Nobody's going to catch me.
Nah.
Pittman pumpkins are a bunch of pumpkins.
That's
and
right.
really,
And you're out there, Benny the Jet.
here's really what the coaches said. These guys are a bunch of white kids. This is a slow team. You should be smoking them.
Right.
So in my mind, I'm like, yeah, obviously I'm going to be faster than these white kids because that's what the coaches told us.
That's right.
And I'm going, dude. All the way down, I scored a touchdown.
All right.
I score, and I'm like, I look up at the clock as I'm running into the end zone, and it's 0.00.
Yeah.
It is a movie.
Yeah.
Perfect, right? I'm gassed. I'm like, yes, that's it. We won it. We're going to the championship. However, I turn around, and the ref's like
Hold the
fighting
call.
with the coach.
Okay.
And I'm like, what the hell is this about? The ref called that I stepped out of bounds.
spin move?
Yeah, on the spin move, which hand to the good Lord. I still this day, 30 years later, see the snapshot picture of my foot inbounds on that sideline. They took my touchdown back. The Pumpkins win and get to go to the big ball with Cinderella, and it was a farcity. It was a hoax. It's something that I will never forget. Should I ever run into one of those refs at this particular point in my life? Now, I'm not going to treat them like if I run into Officer Kosha.
No.
However, I'll probably have a discussion with them about the moral dilemma with being paid off from a midget football team
Of
to
course.
call a game in one way.
Yeah.
It was disgusting.
It sounds it.
I can remember dads yelling like, "We see that Pittman money in your pocket."
You know how Pittman rolls.
Yeah. 10-3 Buccaneers. Victor Coco. Deuces Coco with the sports report at the half.
Let's
Dun, 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 dun.
let's take this moment at halftime to do a real quick break and then come back.
No, God bless.
There's a blank screen and we should be back.
Well, I'm not seeing a blank screen. I'm just seeing the
There'll be like a
logo.
Yeah, right. And there'll be like a cutout for a second and then it should come back through.
Okay, if you're joining us at halftime, the score's 10-3 with the Birds. We don't care, but we will
don't.
continue to keep you updated.
The Birds don't matter till January. That's what I like to say.
That's true. They're going to pull out this W. I may be changing over and rooting a little bit more for the Buccaneers. I don't know.
I need you to calm down with that nonsense. You can change over when
How
It's
about the Dolphins? Can't I be a Dolphins fan? They just blew out the Broncos 70-20.
you can 100% go get yourself a Tua jersey if you want.
You
Absolutely.
know what I'm saying?
70 points.
Bro, I'm going to get a Dolphins starter jacket.
782 yards of offense.
That's ridiculous. Here's where you want to know where I get
Dolphins.
my football news at, bro.
I got a starter coat for you story, but go ahead.
Yeah.
I just told it to my son the other day.
I get my football news, my sports news in the sauna every morning
Right.
at the gym because they're playing whatever, on the screen. So I looked at it and it said 70-20 on the Chiron. I had to ask the dude sweating next to me.
Right,
I'm like,
Is that a typo?
he's like, yeah, man. I'm like, is that an NFL record? He said, yep. 1964 was
Yeah.
the last time they scored that
70
much.
points.
It's ridiculous.
That 10 touch that there's not enough time in the game to just go up and down the field 10 times.
Right. So are the Dolphins that good or are the Broncos that bad?
Yes.
Okay.
It's in between.
A little bit of both.
The Dolphins offense is super electric, but the Broncos are a mess.
Right.
It all worked to play that out, but
Right.
it's bananas.
It has to be a little bit of both for that kind of score to.
Yeah. You need everybody.
Son.
Everybody's got to contribute for you to be able to. It's 100 points in the whole. I think it was 70-30. So it's 100 points the whole game.
Yeah.
That's a
wild.
basketball score.
It's cool to see. I do when I'm watching football. I don't watch football.
Right.
But when I'm catching highlights in the steam room in the morning,
Right.
I do remember that I love football.
Yeah.
Like, I love it the same as I did. I just don't have the bandwidth to follow football.
No, I get it. So if you're gonna just check out some highlights every now and again, I both Dolphins related. I recommend you always watch the Dolphins highlights.
Okay.
Till Tua gets his next concussion.
Yeah.
And watch their head coach in his interviews. I assure you, he will be your favorite head coach of all time within 3 interviews.
Well, word on the streets is he's TWD.
He is. As
I mean, the specs that he was wearing at the game yesterday. If that wasn't if he's not the freshest coach in the league, he's got to be close.
There's some rumors that he's not W, but the T and the D are for sure.
What's he, Spanish?
Yeah, he's got some blends in there. I think
he grew up in Colorado, dude.
If I'm not mistaken, it was a big thing last year. I think his father's black.
He's a kid. He's like a white kid from Colorado.
I know what he looks like.
Yeah,
I know he looks like every nerd from out of MIT. But
the only reason I even know because I listen to a lot of comedy podcasts.
Right.
And Dan Soder and him were best friends growing up.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Dan Soder?
I am.
I like him.
I got no problem with him. He's pretty funny.
So what's your story about a starter jacket? Hit me with it.
I don't know. So we were talking about, I was actually talking about that, like, I don't have a lot of memory anymore of, like, my youth.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that vivid memory that you just told about the football game.
Yeah.
I have, like, 4 or 5 solid memories that I could really, like, give you
that's
the whole
only one that I have.
So we were talking about Christmases growing up and the Christmases that I remember. And we weren't talking bad about my mom, but we were talking about my mom when it came up. So I was talking about how, like, she would pay attention, like, what you would ask for Christmas and things like that. But only sort of, like, half-assed.
Right.
So
I can understand that.
So when I was running through the first wave of when the starter jacket was hot, the long one with the hood, right?
That was before my time.
Right, not the elastic waist one, but the one that looked more like a duster.
Not
quite as long.
I was the pullover generation, half zip pullover generation.
Those were the next step up.
Yep.
So at that time, that was when the Hornets were first kind of hitting the scene, the Charlotte Hornets. So I had mentioned
that starter jacket was major.
I want the starter jacket with the Hornet on the back in teal. That's a beautiful thing.
And maybe the hat to match
Maybe the hat to match.
That might have been asking too much.
Yeah, I don't like to push my luck on Christmas.
Yeah.
So she definitely heard me say starter coat, and she definitely heard me say teal.
Yeah.
So we get to Christmas, and I got the boxes under the tree, and I'm like, okay, we know what this box is. It's too big to be anything else.
Right.
Open it up. It's the starter jacket, and it's folded so you see the front first. So you only see the black. Pull it out, turn it around. It's literally a starter coat. Like the embroidery on the back, it's the starter logo in teal.
The only thing worse than not having a starter jacket is having that one.
Having the starter jacket.
Oh, guys, it's a starter jacket.
For real. Look on the back. Who else would put that there? Yeah. But it was teal.
And here's the thing. She probably went through hell and high water to find a teal embroidered starter logo.
For sure. She was asking around, and somebody was like, "Are you sure?" And she was like, "That's what my son said."
He said
teal
he wants
starter
a teal starter jacket. That hurt that Christmas, dude.
That was tough.
You wanted to be happy about it.
Well, I had to pretend, right? Like I got to pretend like she nailed it, and then I got to. Now it's my winter coat also. So like I got to go out amongst my friends and my not my friends. And be like,
dude.
Here's my brand name coat. Like,
did you catch any shrapnel from it?
All the shrapnel.
You deserved it. There's nothing you could do. You had to just take it, dude. You had to step on that grenade.
And I'm at that age where I probably could have taken my bike and gone to the mall and exchanged it for I one.
Right.
But I can't come back home with the different jacket that she gave me.
You didn't want to hurt her heart.
Yeah, I'll break her heart.
I might have just I might have went and exchanged it and be like, nah, well, I saw this one, Ma, and I like this one just a little bit better.
I didn't realize they had this, so I'm gonna. If you don't mind, it's the same thing, it's the thought that counts.
I know the feeling because I remember, and this is super quick because it's not really that interesting. It's just about the feeling, is that we bought presents to donate to Toys for Tots or something.
Sure.
I must have been 5 or 6 years old. Like I was young.
Okay.
And she bought this remote control monster truck.
All right.
And it was a small one, but it for whatever it did and whatever it looked like, I was like, yo, Ma, I want this. She was like, well, you can't have this one. I'll get you one for Christmas. I'm like, all right, bet I got one coming for Christmas. But then she bought like some knockoff version of the good one.
Right.
And she was like, this is the truck you wanted. And I remember being like, yeah. But I can vividly remember that feeling. I felt like all of the air was let out of my sails. Like, oh.
It's a Tonka. No, it was supposed to be a Tonka.
Yeah, it's rough. But, you know, that's the days of our youth. Have you watched AYG? This reminds me of like a Are You Garbage kind of.
I catch pieces of it, like when it pops up.
It's my favorite.
I haven't watched the whole show. It's always, every time I see it, it's good. I like it.
It's my favorite.
Speaking of monster trucks, I tell you, I got my son his first like real monster truck.
Nice.
Like a first real remote control car. Like he had to build it.
Is it Bigfoot?
No, it's not. You mean Blackfoot from the old collection?
No, Bigfoot, dude. Bigfoot the monster truck.
Bigfoot was the real monster truck, but like when in my youth used to buy, there was like three. There was the Blackfoot, which was a Ford on big wheels.
Yeah.
There was the Grasshopper, which was a dune buggy. And then there was the Lunchbox, which was like a Dodge van, and it had the 4-wheel steering and everything. And those were the ones you had to build on your own.
Yeah, that was the 60s, dude. Back when I was growing up, we had the real deal. We had Bigfoot. Gravedigger.
Gravedigger was
Who else
awesome.
did we have? I just remember Bigfoot and Gravedigger. There was a red one, too, but I don't remember who the red one was. He was like...
Snake, right?
Maybe. That sounds familiar. He was kind of like Bigfoot's nemesis.
Right.
The red one.
Yeah, I think it was a snake. I'm trying to remember what it was. But yeah. So with the when you buy the good remote control cars, you get the body is this clear Lexan body.
Okay.
So you spray paint it to, set it up. So now I got to get my son into spray painting stuff. So he's like, I want to mask it off. I want to mask off flames. I want to paint it, and then I want to paint the flames.
Obviously.
I'm like, this is good work.
Yeah.
So I get him. We decide we're going to go like this real nice base tan color. And then there's this like silver with glitter in it that's going to be the flames and stuff. So when it's riding around, you can, get all the reflection.
Right.
Okay, cool. I set him up with a little paint box so he can spray paint it. It's not getting overspray everywhere. He does the main coats. Looks real nice. Peels it off, goes to do the other one. And the masking part, that's less paint. You need less paint to do that part of it, right? Because that's just like the details. Mm-hmm. So I need more paint for the main color than for the other color. So we get 2 cans of one and 1 can of the other. Uses up the 2 cans on the one, gets it all done. Nice, like 4 coats. Looks beautiful. Comes and does the other thing. And then he took it out riding. And he's rough with it because that's what you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So it chips a little bit. And I'm like, it's all right. It's no big deal because you just take some of the paint and you touch it up.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't. I'm like, what do you mean you can't? It's like, I used it all. Like, what do you mean? He goes, well, I got done of the flames and everything, and I let it dry, and it would look good. So then I just started spray painting my name on the box.
Yep.
I'm like, all right, here we go.
You should have told him that he should pick a different name, or
he's got it. At least he was initials ARY.
Yeah.
Do something.
Change it up a little bit.
He didn't have enough paint to do Alessandro. So he's working on being a graph head now.
We were talking. Who was I talking with? Oh, I was talking with Cousin E.
Okay.
Now, Cousin E, for as hip as he once was, he's kind of now fallen into old construction worker as far as most things are concerned.
Okay.
He's into what he's into, you know what I mean? He's a man of world events and the news, and he's following what's happening in the world.
As an old person will do.
Yeah. Whereas I'm a little bit more in touch with, not much more, only slightly more in touch with what's pop culture.
Right.
He makes mention of dumb baggy jeans. And I'm like, oh, cuz, Jinkos are back in fashion.
Yeah.
And he's like, nah, dude, nah. I'm like, I probably almost can guarantee you that not only are 90s baggy jeans, retarded baggy, back in fashion, but actual Jinko jeans, the brand, are probably back in fashion. So we look it up. A pair of Jinko jeans now costs you $268.
Yeah.
For the dumb jeans that we paid maybe $60. Jinko was a cheap brand back at that point.
Yeah, it definitely was.
They were never, it was never like on par with, like, I'm trying to think of what would be. I have a list of brands here that I would like to touch on. We'd like to go into 8th grade fashion.
They were no Bugle Boy or Z Cavarici. They were
See,
like
by the time Bugle Boy by the time I got into knowing how to dress, Bugle Boy was a full dork move.
there were no Benetton or cross colors or anything like that.
This was you're talking we're two different. This is where we
Jordache?
lose. Yeah, nope, that wasn't. Keep going. Maybe you'll name.
I'm trying to think.
Maybe.
I mean, you had the basics.
IOU sweatshirts, bum equipment.
Stuff from Chess King.
Yeah. I don't even know what Chess King is. Go ahead, give us a lesson on Chess King, Pay. What was that?
Chess King was a clothing store in the mall, and it was like so there was like, I forget what the one was that was like just the regular street clothes.
Yeah.
For what they were.
USA Blues.
Yeah, USA Blues is a good one. But Chess King was like the Guido at the club store. So that's where all
similar to Gigolos on Shoppers Lane.
I don't know what that is, but I'm going to just assume that you're
it has
you're correct.
to be. Yeah.
But it was all, like I said, it was all the Z Cavarici pants and all that stuff.
What do you think that you would equate it to now? Maybe an H&M?
More upscale than that. Like there's one of them in the mall. It's on the right hand side. Shit. Give me a second to look it up. And it's a little Banana Republic ish.
Right.
It's at that level. It's
Gotcha.
Like ish, but a little hipper than Banana Republic, because Banana Republic always seemed real square to me.
Yeah, a little bit.
But like at that tier. Hollister's good.
Yeah.
Hollister's good.
Payday. Do you remember the East Store Mall?
I don't remember the East store in the mall. No. Was that in the Echelon Mall?
I don't remember that one either. The East Store. Nah, it's not ringing a bell. So. Jinko jeans have made a comeback, which then had me thinking about some things.
Okay.
You can get the exact Jinko, we looked them up. For $268, you can get the Jinko jeans that you can't see your sneakers.
Right.
And they have like a red.
You can't see your rollerblades.
Yeah, they got a red. Yeah. You could hide your. Yeah. The Jinko jeans are on par with. I don't know if you were around for UFO pants. UFO pants were the swooshy version of a Jinko.
I'm going to look that up.
And if you were a raver kid, because this is when rave culture started to penetrate the New Jersey suburbs. Now, none of the kids, or maybe one of the kids wearing UFO pants, has actually ever been to a rave and did an ecstasy pill. But there were definitely a lot of kids perpetrating a fraud and wearing UFO pants, which were basically Jinko swooshies. They were dumber than Jinkos. I owned one pair of Jinkos at one point, but they were like a slim, in comparison, slim cut Jinko. They were baggy as hell still, but they were called the Jinko old schools. That's exactly what UFOs are.
Okay.
We had them in solid colors, though.
Okay.
Put them up on the screen for the boys.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to switch it over.
So if you were a fraudulent raver, you had UFO pants that those little strings that are hanging out the pocket, you would tie your glow sticks to those. And that's how people knew that you were about your business when it came to candy flipping, which is a mixture of ecstasy pills and acid or something like that.
There you go.
Candy flipping and shroomed out. There was a store where you would get, if you wanted Jinko, if you wanted UFOs, you wanted brand name stuff, you had to go to the mall. At first. But then hip-hop fashion started kind of ushering itself into, what am I doing with this hand, do you think?
I'm not sure. You're going to slap somebody, it looks like.
I don't know, but I look frozen on the screen.
You're not frozen on mine.
All right. Hip-hop had, was in the midst of blowing up as I am growing up. So by the time I'm in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, pop culture fashion is hip-hop fashion.
This is late 90s, early 2000s?
Yeah.
Early aughts.
I'd say mostly, I think I graduated 8th grade in 2000.
Okay.
So we're talking late 90s. Primarily.
Like, so that's like the prime of the like the woo wear, like all all those individual brands, the Sean Combs clothing and all that stuff.
Now,
Rockaware.
Now, woo wear did one thing. If it didn't do a few, it definitely did one, which was like, hey, here's the brands that you wear if you're cool. There was a lot of things dictating the brands we wore.
Yeah.
But the song Woo Wear was for sure one of them.
Yeah,
because I bought a DLO shirt, a DLO t-shirt, and had never heard of DLO before the Woo Wear song came out. I have no idea what DLO stands for.
I don't know either.
But I for sure had a DLO t-shirt going into 7th grade.
I definitely did too.
Not
in 7th grade, but.
When I went school shopping that year, I made sure, my mom's like, what is this? I'm like, it's DLO. I mean, obviously.
You don't know, Mom? That's how I know it's good.
Which, as it turns out, being on the D-Lo was why there was a few very feminine guys in the grade who cozied up to me that year. I guess it was the T-shirt. I don't know. So there was a legendary store in Turnersville, New Jersey that I don't know if you're familiar with, but if you are a man of 37 years old from the Camden and Gloucester County area, you probably got your Tommy Boy lanyard at NJ Warehouse.
Yes.
Now, NJ Warehouse sold, they had First Down, they had Tommy,
South Pole.
They had South Pole, they had Mecca, they probably had Carl Kanai. The thing about them, though, is that not one of those shirts actually came from those manufacturers.
No, not at all.
Their entire stock was fresh out of China when the bootleg scene started really getting big. This was when China realized that they could bootleg anything
and not get in trouble.
Send it over here and just make $1 million off of bootleg First Down swooshy shorts.
Right.
I had a pair because white swooshies came in for a little while.
Yeah.
So I had a pair of First Down white swooshy shorts where you could see my boxers through the shorts. That was kind of the point of, that was the cool thing to do, was to have a white pair of swooshy shorts and boxers that matched your shirt or your shoes, so that when you walked, they caught little reflections through the white swooshy. I would love a white pair of swooshies, but not, I think if you bought a Nike white swooshy, you're not going to be able to see through them today. They're not selling the same cheap material,
they have
see-through swooshies.
They have almost like the Umbro fabric where it's got
crinkly.
It's a little crinkly and it's a little textured so that when the light hits it, it doesn't go straight through.
Yeah. I'm still on the lookout for a State Prop sweatsuit, so if anybody knows where to find a State Prop sweatsuit that's not a size 3XL, let me know. I'm looking for one. I'm also now in search of a pair of white swooshies or swooshy shorts, but I want them to be the see-through kind.
Right.
Because now I want to show off my Ethica underwear.
Yeah, you have to. You don't pay that kind of money for Ethica underwear to keep it tucked away.
Sadly, First Down, the brand, is deceased.
Okay.
Jinko has carried on tradition.
Sure.
But First Down, a company that really made a solid product, a great winter jacket, on par with North Face as far as I'm concerned. North Face and First Down were basically kissing cousins back then.
Right.
And First Down is now deceased. You can only buy vintage stuff off of Poshmark or whatever, which is sad.
Yeah.
It's sad to hear.
You don't like to see anything in your youth go under like that.
You hate to see it. I also, at some point, I came across a brand called SMP.
I don't know from SMP. I'm not familiar with that.
Oh. Is that for real? I don't know if it's for real because everything.
Because you can't read it.
Well, everything that I was looking at showed that they were deceased.
I'm gonna look.
Oh, you know what? It's written in Chinese, so it's probably just a different company printing First Down on jackets now.
They look like
they look official.
Quality, yeah.
Yeah, but you get them and
not so much.
Yeah, I mean, what's the price on one? 27,000 yen.
Right. So what's that work?
Okay. I'm a little shy on that in my account.
Are you sure?
Yeah, no, I'm not. I might have more than 27,000 yen in the account.
It's about $180.
Yeah, I'm not paying $180 unless I see it first.
You got to secure the fact
especially if it's a Chinese website. I just can't do it, dude. So SMP, which was a brand that I somehow got the T-shirt.
Okay.
I never knew of the brand. I wasn't it wasn't something that I seeked out to find.
Right.
But I got a SMP T-shirt. Recently, I found out that SMP was a freestyle motocross brand.
Is that what this is? Okay.
Yeah. So I was, ahead of the game. Oh, which reminds, I kind of want to talk brands, but I got to tell you, I traced back the lineage of my motorcycle infatuation.
Oh, okay. What really kicked off the dirt bike?
Yeah, let me make a note of that so I can get through my list here.
Okay.
Also, you know what they're still selling, and I haven't seen one in person, but the word is on the street that they're out there, and you could get a brand new butter soft Averex leather. You know what I mean?
With the 8-ball and everything, or
was Averex the 8-ball?
Averex was one of them. They also had like their name in the back in cursive.
I remember a patch, like an Averex, really detailed patch on the back.
Right.
And you could get the red Averex. The red one was really popping. I always wanted the black because I wanted to keep it simple. But I didn't have the $450 to buy the jacket, and I sure wasn't going to convince my mom to go into USA Blues and buy a $450 Averex leather.
I remember a tan one with some intricate embroidery on the back. I don't remember exactly what the embroidery was, but it was definitely the name in like a nice
some patchwork
font.
And a bunch of stuff going on. I don't quite remember it either. Before Supreme,
okay,
there was Blank Supreme. Do you remember this one?
I don't think so.
I'm getting a lot of static. Dada Supreme.
Dada Supreme. Okay, yes.
Which then it was Dada Supreme, and then at some point, I don't know if they're related to the actual Supreme.
Okay.
But they dropped the Supreme and were just Dada.
Right.
So maybe they were in a partnership, and Dada went his own way, and Supreme went his way, and Supreme did a whole lot better than Dada did.
Well, maybe they bought Dada out.
Could be true. Have you seen a pair of Boss jeans lately?
Not in years.
No, I don't think.
No Boss clothing in quite some time.
No.
That was one of the ones that I think that fell to like a Walmart brand.
Yeah.
And then just fell off the face of the earth.
Well, it wasn't far from a Walmart brand when I was wearing it.
It wasn't.
It was a Foreman Mills acquisition.
Oh God, that's right. Dada used to make the sneakers that had the spinners in them.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Because if you didn't have a car, the next best thing to do is put spinners on your sneaks. If you can't put shoes on the whip, you might as well put some Latrell Spreewells on your feet, dog.
Basically, yeah.
That's
exactly what they were.
Yeah. The Spreewell was probably sponsored by Dada. He may have wore a pair of Dadas.
There's no chance. Yeah, I'm trying to. It's not.
I wonder if you hear it here. Definitely. You definitely hear it. So, I don't know.
I don't know where it's emanating from, though.
Yeah, we never do.
Everything else is down. And even, like, that's the soundboard. Now it's gone.
That's it. Turn the soundboard off.
Perfect. Was it plugged in?
Yeah, that too.
That's what it was.
You know what this is the last one I'd like to mention to you.
You don't have to stop. I'm enjoying this trip down midlife lane.
Other than, of course, the Birdman driving boot, the lugs.
The lugs.
The lugs were fashionable.
Were lugs always the Birdman's brand?
No, because when lugs first
like Eric
came out.
Sermon,
yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, like the whole they weren't the hit squad. Yeah, the hit squad.
The hit squad. When lugs first hit the scene, I wasn't around, honestly. But when I hit the scene and lugs was there, Birdman was nowhere to be. He was still in New Orleans.
Okay.
Flipping keys or whatever he was doing.
Right.
Shining his gold teeth. And lugs had a kind of a reputation. Like they were, when I came across lugs,
okay,
they were starting to develop kind of a cornball reputation. Because it was kind of like, you, instead of getting Timbs, you got lugs.
Right.
Because Timbs were always the gold standard.
The king, yeah.
And lugs, I do remember, and I've been around to wear a lugs sweatshirt.
Okay.
Do you remember the Lugs sweatshirt that had the
With the
boot embroidered on it?
No, mine always had the oval patch, and then it said Lugs.
I do remember the oval patch, but there was one that said Lugs, and it had a boot, like a knockoff looking Timberland, and it was all like a big embroidered patch on like a crew neck sweatshirt.
I had Lugs because I used to wear Tims all the time because that was what I was told to do. But I never had a reason to have high top shoes. And they were more of a pain in the ass than anything. And Lugs made a real nice construction Tim looking, but low top. And they were perfect for wearing to work and stuff like that when I got to wear long pants, and then I put them on.
Yeah.
So I had run through a couple pairs of Lugs just for that reason.
I remember the Clarks, the Wallabies started popping in the mid-'90s.
Yeah.
Maybe early 90s. You'll remember when they started popping better than I would.
Raekwon had them popping, so that's 94, 93.
I thought that was more of a ghost face maneuver.
I think it could have been both.
Obviously. Probably was both, yeah. So I remember the Wallies being popping.
Right.
And Lugs made a knockoff Wallaby.
They sure did.
For the guys who didn't know that the Wallabies were the actual thing.
Right.
You know, like the guys who just saw the Woo Wear video and saw a mock toe boot on Raekwon's foot.
Right.
Then went to the store and were like, oh, obviously he was
like
wearing Lugs.
Yeah, of course. The Urban brand.
I never wore a Lugs knockoff pair of Wallabies.
Okay.
I did wear the Stacey Adams knockoff Wallabies, though. So I don't know where that falls on the scale,
right.
You know? I don't know if I'm better or worse for that.
I don't think I ever had any Wallabies at all, in one way or the other, real or otherwise.
Just this past last winter, Clark's came out with a couple of kind of, what would you call them? Like niche Wallabies or like kind of special edition.
Oh, they had like limited edition ones?
Yeah, they had a camo Wallaby.
Okay.
That was kind of fresh.
Yeah.
They also had like a furry Wallaby. That I'm not a guy
like
really
Ugg style fur.
Kind of.
Okay.
Like I'm not a guy for furry things, but the furry Wallabies were kind of fresh. I might could see myself slipping into a pair of those. Not anymore, of course, because I'm a tropical man.
Right.
I have been walking through Lowe's on occasion.
Oh, uh-oh.
I go to Lowe's sometimes.
The mayor of Home Depot over at the competition?
The mayor of Milwaukee, which we also have to discuss that at some point.
I saw that's coming up, yeah.
And in Lowe's, they sometimes they'll have like, I don't know if Lowe's ever has Carhartt jackets, but they have Carhartt style jackets.
Yeah.
You know, like the Big Johns or whatever the bootleg brand is.
Right.
Or they'll have like maybe a rain jacket up front, or lately they've been having a lot of these fishing gear shirts and shorts.
Okay.
I don't remember the brand. It was like maybe Fly Gear or something.
Okay.
But it's like very light, airy hoodies so that you can put a hoodie on and wear long sleeves while you're out on the water.
Yeah.
But still be cool and refreshed.
Yeah.
So Lowe's will occasionally have some clothing. In years past, I've been walking through Lowe's and saw Helly Hansen rain jackets, which is the clue to let you know that Helly Hansen has fallen all the way off.
That's been, yeah.
Helly Hansen was held to like a super high standard at one point.
They were on the polo level at one point in time.
See,
like the real polo, not the polo sport level, the polo level.
No. Yeah. I kind of always equated Helly Hansen as a cousin to Carl Kanai.
Okay.
Which I don't know how true that is because I didn't have very much Helly Hansen gear, but that's kind of how I perceived them.
They were, I mean, obviously everything drops off, but at the point in time where they really got big, they were Hilfiger, Hansen, Polo was all in that same universe.
I could also see them kind of in the Columbia rain jacket.
Because of the outdoor gear.
Yeah, in that lane. What else is on here? Oh, I'm sure that we've told you the famous story of Shane. My name is Shane. I wear Mecca.
No, I don't think I know Shane.
There was this kid, Shane. And I wasn't like, I was just associated with Shane.
Right.
Cool dude, super cool dude. Like very. What do you got? You laughing at?
No, I'm laughing at you.
All right.
How you're distancing yourself from Shane before you even tell us what's happening.
No. I thought you had something good to pull up on the screen. No. Shane was, he ran with no skills before I ran with no skills.
Okay.
And Shane and no skills were both these kind of like super laid back, kind of hood dudes.
Okay.
Air quotes around hood dudes. But they were like these super cool kind of hip hop dudes, we'll say.
Okay.
And Shane didn't talk much. He was very quiet. And No Skills didn't talk much early on either. He was also very quiet. But we used to say, because Shane didn't wear anything but Mecca.
Okay.
He also talked a little bit like a robot.
All right.
So the legend has it that when he first came to the neighborhood, he introduced himself to BT and said, "My name is Shane. I wear Mecca." and that was a phrase that stuck for a long time. Hey, that's Shane. He wears Mecca. So, I mean, is there any other brands that you'd like to bring to the discussion? I about ran through my list here.
So when I worked at the record store, there was like a clothing store next door, and I would come in on Fridays and we would swap out a couple CDs for a couple shirts.
Where was the record store at?
The record store was in Willingboro.
Okay.
It was called Sound Express.
Okay.
So I've been, acquainted with all of these brands. And there's more, but I can't think of them. I can picture what my long sleeve. Yeah. I had 80,000 long sleeve T-shirts. But yeah, really, like I said, like that era, that like 97 to like 01 was just this run of a million different people were allowed to have clothing brands for whatever reason, and they were all featured in the source.
Yeah, I was trying my hardest to like remember the real niche brands that were like, when you bring those ones up, you're like, oh, I forgot about that one. Like
there was one,
but nothing really comes up. I think there was like Pure Players. That was hot for a minute.
Yep.
A very quick minute. There was Pelly Pelly, obviously, but that's not like a... Pelly Pelly was like, might as well have been considered at least hip-hop mainstream.
Yeah.
I'm looking for niche clothing brands that you just forgot all about. Dada Supreme.
Whenever we have these conversations, there's this one brand, and I still can't figure out what it is. But all of their shirts had pictures of like... the Civil War, like in action and stuff like that, and the name of the brand was whatever 55.
RP55.
Was it RP55?
It was RP55. By the time I got on the fashion scene, but by the time I was walking runways in Milan,
right,
RP55 had already been downgraded to a Foreman Mills special.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's quite possible. Like you said, they came and went fast at that RP55 group. Look at that.
Yep. RP55 was, they were a little bit before my time.
They got the Billionaire Boys Club under their flag now?
They were, to me, RP55 was one of the many brands that was like trying to do what Iceberg did. They were trying to kind of take the Iceberg lane, but nobody really did it the same way that Iceberg did. There was another brand called Lot 29 that was trying to do the Iceberg thing where they kind of had... But, see, Iceberg took the Looney Tunes characters and was just that.
Is that were they the Bugs Bunny with a big clock and things like that type of stuff?
No, I think if I remember correctly, Iceberg was just the characters. They didn't try and do anything funny with them.
Okay.
Look up Iceberg and see what pops up. But then there was brands who took the characters and tried to be like, well, if we make, Donald Duck smoking a joint, it's going to obviously be cooler than just Donald Duck on your jacket.
It was always the Tasmanian Devil with brass knuckles and gold chains.
Elmer Fudd with a Glock. Elmer Fudd's got a submachine gun, you know what I mean?
That was all the flea market special stuff.
But it never hit the same way. Like Iceberg, keeping it simple with just the characters seemed to really be the winning formula.
Yeah.
And iceberg jeans and iceberg, shirts were ridiculously overpriced. I never got my hands on one because Karen would never buy me a pair of $200 jeans in the 90s. A pair of $200 jeans in the 90s might as well be a $1,000 pair of jeans nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
And I, my friend, no matter how much success I ever see, cannot picture myself wearing a $1,000 pair of jeans unless, of course,
they're given to you.
There's really something special about them, and Ralph did his thing on them.
I bet even then you wouldn't.
Depends on what kind of money I'm making, dude.
You'd have to be a millionaire before you would even consider it.
Yeah, but
But I mean, once you're a millionaire, all this conversation about how you'd spend money is off the table.
Yeah, because you just spend it how you want to.
Yeah, you reanalyze everything.
And in all reality, since I started riding bikes, dirt bikes, I don't know that I even care about what I'm wearing. I'd rather put my money towards bike parts or keep saving for another bike. I'd prefer to have a bike collection than a sneaker collection, which brings me to the point that I have a whole bunch of size. Yeah, I got a bunch of size 10.5s. If you want to trade a dirt bike for one or two pairs, maybe we could work something out. And that brings me perfectly to I traced back the lineage of my motorcycle infatuation.
Where your love of bikes kicked off.
It was in and around the shed at 63 Monroe Drive.
When you say the shed, you mean the shed, or
no,
a different
63
shed?
Monroe Drive in Gloucestertown. Laurel Springs was the mailing address.
Okay.
63 Monroe Drive was the house that I grew up in.
Okay.
For at least the first chunk. I was born in Audubon, moved to Gloucester Township, then to Washington Township.
The TWIP. All right.
So this section of the shed, we had two sheds at that house. Eagles, 23. Buccaneers, third quarter, 4 minutes remaining. I got no soundboard, but thank you, Deuces Coco, for the live report. I had two sheds. We had one way in the back of the yard.
Okay.
And that one had our bicycles, probably like, a T-ball set, a couple baseball bats, our gloves, maybe a sled or two tucked away in the back of it. And then there was a smaller shed up near the house, which was the lawnmower, my dad's, that one, box of little tiny hardware drawers that every dad had with a bunch of miscellaneous bolts and nuts.
Like 2 inches, and if you did a 2.5, you were on the floor with everything.
Yep. And they weren't, like, any drawer that you opened had a variety of stuff in it. They weren't organized even a little bit.
And then most of the stuff you needed wouldn't fit in those drawers anyway.
Right. And they were labeled as if they were organized, but they were never organized.
The drawers were organized. The contents weren't.
Yeah. There was one of those in that shed. And at one point, in that shed was two dirt bikes.
Okay.
A blue one and a yellow one. Now, the yellow one, this had to be early 90s. So I don't know if the yellow was Yamaha at that point.
Okay.
Or if the yellow was Suzuki.
Okay.
And the blue, I assume, had to be probably a newer Yamaha.
Not Honda?
No, Honda would be red.
I thought they were red and blue. No?
They got a little bit of blue peppered in there. But this one, if I remember correctly, this was mostly blue. And for all I know, these could have been 1979 dirt bikes.
Right.
I was later told that they belonged to Pup-Up. And I don't know why Pup-Up had dirt bikes, and I don't know why they were keeping them at our house. And I also don't know why nobody ever rode them. And I remember saying that to my dad as a kid, like, why don't you ever ride them? He's like, oh, they're Pup-Ups. But Pup-Up never came and rode the dirt bikes.
They were hiding them from the cops.
Maybe. So that shed, I used to throw my tennis ball against the side of it and catch it. Where I caught it, the house next door was Gus Healy. The Gus Healy. Yeah, that one.
Of the Healy family.
Yeah. Of 61 Monroe Drive.
Yeah. The Monroe Healys.
So those were in, and they always kind of, they obviously, the fact that I still remember that they existed and my parents don't.
Right.
They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I promise you we had dirt bikes in that shed at one point. That kind of made an impression on me inside of the shed. Outside of the shed, where I would throw and catch my tennis ball against the side of it, was on Gus Healy's property right next to ours.
Okay.
Gus Healy had a son named Andy.
Andy Healy.
Andy Healy.
Right.
Andy probably at the time was like 20, maybe 19.
Okay.
I don't know. He
was he 10 years older than you?
No, like 15.
Okay.
He could. I don't really. I have no idea, dude.
Right.
He could have been 20. He could have been 33.
51.
Yeah. Gus Healy was probably pushing 70, although it was the early 90s, so he might have looked 70 today and was actually 50 back then. So, Andy had a early Kawasaki Ninja.
Okay.
I don't know what the first year. What was the first year the Kawasaki Ninja was produced?
It's got to be late 80s, I would think.
Okay. So then he had a early 90s model Kawasaki, I assume Ninja, just because I can remember that it was white and green and blue, and that's Kawasaki street bike colors. And I remember him pulling into the court on the bike and parking it in his garage and thinking how cool that thing was. And just being like, man, I wonder what it feels like to ride on that thing as a kid.
Yeah, the Ninja was always like
the bike.
That was that was the bike. There was the Ninja and the Hayabusa, I think, were the two that were like, if you were going to really get a bike, that's the bike to get.
The Ninja was if you're a 19-year-old Jersey kid and you want to start riding street bikes, you got a Ninja.
You found yourself a Ninja, yeah.
If you've been riding street bikes for 6 months and you are a 19-and-a-half-year-old Jersey kid, you trade it in and you get a Hayabusa. And then usually you most likely kill yourself
somewhere along the way.
Somewhere very shortly after. Because a Hayabusa is
a monster.
Yeah. Although now they got the Kawasaki H2.
Okay.
Which probably blows a Hayabusa out of the water. It's a supercharged, like 1,400 cylinder engine. Yeah, it's ridiculous, dude. To me, I'm like, there's not any interest for me.
The Hayabusa is $20,000 for a new one.
Yeah, the H2 is like 24. I have no interest in something of that caliber.
I'm deathly afraid of it, but I would definitely want to secure that I'm afraid of it. I was right to be afraid of this as I'm in the hospital.
Yeah, there's plenty of other directions that I would go before I went Hayabusa H2. Even if I wanted that size engine or that level of speed,
right,
I'd be quicker to get like a MT10 or something a little nicer. The Hayabusa is not. It's kind of a joke bike, I think, in the culture.
Yeah.
In the motorcycle culture, it seems like the Hayabusa is often mocked.
Okay. It's a shame. They look beautiful.
You think so?
The one I'm looking at here, yeah.
I don't know. That rounded back kind of throws me off. I like more. Right. I like an angular bike.
I get it.
You know, the Hayabusa is very smooth and round lines. I'm more like I like the angles, like a 1989 NFZ. They got two-stroke street bikes from the late 80s. In about 87, they stopped bringing two-stroke street bikes to the U.S., and shortly after, they stopped really producing them all together.
Okay.
But the idea of like a two-stroke, Honda street bike,
right?
Whoa, that really melts my butter, dude. If I can, that's another thing. When I get to be a millionaire, I'll probably search out a 1987 two-stroke street bike because they just look sick and they're two strokes and they sound sick and they're such a rare situation.
You think street bike is the sort of situation, sort of thing where if you hit the millionaire thing, you would like cobble something together, like this body, this frame with this engine with these pieces, because I love all of these different things. Like, it's more than you would do with a car, because a car has certain limitations, you know, because of the size and the shape and all that stuff. Like, you could get your favorite shape, style of bike, and then throw in, you know, one of these insane engines, one of these two strokes that they have now that are so much more efficient and powerful and like all that sort of stuff? Or would you just straight look for an old one and restore it to its glory?
I mean, money not being an option.
That's where we're at.
Let's do both.
All right, fair
You know,
enough.
let's uncover. Let's go search for these rare two-stroke Japanese sport bikes.
Right.
And then let's also take like like a Yamaha MT-07 and put like a 700cc two-stroke in it or something ridiculous, like a new school 700cc two-stroke, and do something ridiculous like that. I think definitely if the money's there, there's a lot of... I think I would lean more towards restoration.
Okay.
But I could get into Frankenstein and some bikes. I could get with it. That's like the idea of, choppers.
You have any brand loyalty?
Not particularly. I think I'm a Husqvarna guy.
Okay.
But that could change.
Does Husqvarna make any street bikes, though?
They do.
Okay.
They make, so they're not really like sport bikes. So here's the thing. KTM has a few sport bikes. They also have what they call nakeds or street fighters, which are basically sport bikes with the fairings took off.
Okay.
You've seen them.
I'm sure.
You just don't know that they're called naked bikes.
Right.
KTM has the Duke and the Super Duke and the Duke 890 and the Duke 790 and the Duke 690 and the Duke 390. And those are, kind of hand in hand with Husky. Husky doesn't have particularly their own version of the Duke. They do have the Svartpillen.
Sparkpillen?
Svartpillen.
Taking me back to my IKEA days.
And that is actually a pretty... SVAR. Are you on searching right now?
I'm actually looking at two-stroke street bikes that
What do
we
you
can
got?
import.
What's in front of you?
I got some nice stuff here.
Let's do a little slideshow here. Show me what you got.
Let me see if I can pop it up.
Oh, what year is that one? The NSR. Yeah.
So
see, look at the back, like the tail on that being real boxy.
Right.
To me, that's...
You like that?
Oh, that's crispy looking.
No, I'm not. I mean, I got no problem with that. I do like the way the Hayabusa looks like a bullet going through the air, but
yeah,
I could also see the appeal of this for sure.
Yeah, to me, that reminds me of Vanilla Ice in that movie in the early 90s where he was riding next to the horse. She was on the horse, and he's on the other side of the fence riding a street bike. Yeah, Bo. That's what I'm looking to be, cuz I'm looking to be cool as ice.
Skip the zero and get with the hero, and then you take off on your bike.
Uh-huh. With obviously Ice Ice Baby playing in the soundtrack of the background.
No, you gotta play that funky music, White Boy, going on.
Is that what he played?
Yeah,
I never saw the movie.
You don't go with Ice Ice.
I
Ice
just
Ice
remember
Baby's
the
at
commercial.
the end, like that. You gotta earn that.
Yeah.
You don't just get that for free.
Fair enough. Do they got a price on what a crispy NSR like that is?
These here that I'm pulling up are auctions.
Yeah.
So they don't have a set price.
Yeah, I mean that might something that clean, that might be like a $13,000 bike.
I'm trying to see because a couple of the auctions say that they already went off.
Have sold, right.
So I'm trying to see if they list what they hit for. Here's a nice Suzuki
RGV. And that's a two-stroke? Yeah.
Yeah, these are all two-strokes. This whole Moto 2, that's what they do. They import two-stroke bikes to America.
Nice. So are these, what, do they have years on them, or these are newer bikes?
I thought it said 8,700 miles. It doesn't say, no. You can get more info if you want, but no, it doesn't say what year they are.
Yeah, I mean, looks-wise...
They're in great condition.
Yeah, looks-wise, that Suzuki doesn't do it for me the same way that the NSR does.
Sure.
I'm not mad at that. And should that be the two-stroke sport bike that I come across, I mean, hey, let's do it. Victor asks, could you relax with a BMW touring motorcycle? Yes, you could. You could be very relaxed. Yeah, dude.
So your bikes are out there.
Yeah, I know. It's just
You just need the dough.
You got to put the bread together. I would love it. I would love one of those. And I don't even really have that much interest in a street bike, to be honest with you.
That one's got the price locked on it.
18?
18,000.
Yeah.
It's got 16,000 miles on it, which, as far as I understand, with a bike, that's a high number.
Yes. But it's a two-stroke. So if it's a two-stroke that's taken care of, and it looks like it is, you keep it running forever.
Okay.
And you're not putting a lot of miles on a bike like that. That's a collector's piece. You ride that once a month.
So you're not putting 18 into this to ride it around? You're putting 18 into this to put it up on the showroom floor?
I'm putting 18 into it to ride it. You know what, to be honest with you, I say that. But once I ride it, I'd probably be like, oh, I'm going to ride this tomorrow.
As soon as it shows
Pull
up.
this thing back out tomorrow, man.
I got to at least see what it could do.
Yeah, in a perfect world, I like the first one the best. The first NSR was the best one. And in a perfect world, I'll have one of those sitting in my garage for when I want it.
And then this was the one that caught my eye.
TZR 250.
It's got 1 mile on it, so
unused.
It's pretty much brand new.
Do they have a price up there on it?
It auctions off.
That's got to be crazy more
September.
expensive.
It auctions off tomorrow night.
To be determined at auction.
We'll have to tune in and see what they go for. We'll throw some early bids in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a site that I go to called Cars and Bids.
Uh-huh. And sometimes you just put
every now and then I'll
$50 on
$1,000. See what happens. I'm gonna get outbid, and if I don't, then I got a gem for $1,000.
Right.
But be forewarned, because I didn't know this the first time I did it. These sites will hold a piece of money regardless.
Right.
So, I don't know how long their auctions last, but like Cars and Bids will be a week-long auction.
Right.
So I put my money in on the first day, and even if I get outbid the first day, they're still holding my money until the auction completely goes off.
Right. Yeah, I like the all black. I like the shape of it.
Yeah.
I think I would go.
Still like the NSR better?
Yeah, I mean the NSR is quintessential. To me, that NSR is quintessential early 90s sport bike, late 80s sport bike.
It's more than just the bike itself. It's the whole profile.
Yeah, the colors, that red, white, and blue color of it, just the look of it, the fact that it's a two-stroke, I mean, magnifique.
I got you.
What topics did you have that you wanted to...
I don't think... I wanted to talk about, like, for when you relocate, in your mind, what's the one thing that you will absolutely wake up every now and then and go, I shouldn't, I can't get this here, I shouldn't have left? Well, I know in general you're going to be happy with the move. I'm not telling you no, but there's got to be one thing or something that's just like, it's not like this anywhere else, and I need this in my life every now and again.
It's funny that you say that, because as I was driving through the city of Philadelphia this past week, I thought to myself, this is gritty. Right. Even when you're in Center City, the business district of Philadelphia, with these $1 million sky rises,
right,
it's still gritty. There's still a grit to it, and a dirtiness, and a very northeast roughneck feel to the city of Philadelphia.
Sure.
Which I would say, if we told a few nice middle-class folks from Wichita that we're from Jersey, I assume that their kind of automatic thought is like, he's a rough kid, tough Jersey kid. Jersey is kind of a rough spot to be from. Jersey, Philly, New York, it all kind of falls into that. You're like kind of a northeast ruffian.
Right.
Because there's a grittiness to it. I'm mostly done with the appeal of the grittiness of the streets of our area.
Sure.
But I do think that I may wind up down south with, polite neighbors and no traffic and clean cities, and be like, something's missing here.
Where are you going roughly?
Port Charlotte.
Okay.
which is like all retired people.
Okay.
From my understanding.
Right.
So like it's going to be me and a
all
bunch of white
Philadelphia
hairs.
people anyway.
Yeah, that's true. So I think that even though I'm done with the, playing around in the streets and
Right.
have been for a while.
Right.
I mean, that's why I had a little BMX career there, because we were riding through the hood and, grinding shit and doing 360s off of different curves and different but you still got to kind of ride around and be a part of the streets and be talking to,
right.
Nomads and kind of be a nomad yourself. And I think that feeling and that kind of street culture is probably not going to be readily available in Florida. If it is, it's going to be a much different thing because they're all strung out on bath salts down there.
It's going to be hidden away more. It's going to be that thing that people who travel enough talk about, where once you get outside of the Northeast, there's like this release valve that like the Northeast is like this packed in hyper everything is just, angry. And then once you leave that area, the things still exist, but they're just not, because the intensity isn't there.
Yeah.
The rest of the feel just isn't there.
Right. Which I hope that's kind of my edge.
That you can bring the intensity to them.
Well, no, I don't want to bring it to them.
Okay.
I just want to.
would.
I want to. He gone bring it to him. I like to think that I will use that intensity kind of as my edge to propel me forward in business.
It's your fuel.
I was once told down south, a Yankee with a trade can make a killing.
Right.
And I've heard a lot of people down south in my discussions with people from Georgia and Florida and Louisiana. There's always, people say the same thing up here to me all the time too, so I don't know how true it is, but there's always like, oh, there's no good contractors around here. Guys don't show up. They take off early. They're fishing in the middle of the day. They're this, they're that.
What else you gonna fish?
When I'm focused, I'm putting in,
you're there.
14-hour days and
you agree to do the job.
knocking out jobs. It just depends. Are you going to pay me what I want?
Right.
Do you want this job done? Do you want this job good, quick, and cheap? Right? Is that the things?
It's yeah.
Fast, good, and cheap.
Right.
You only get two of them.
You only get the big two.
And I don't do
cheap.
Fast.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't do cheap. You're right. I don't do cheap. That's what I meant to say.
Right.
I don't do cheap.
Right.
So we're gonna get you a fast, good job.
For the right price, you'll do fast, but you don't do cheap.
Yeah. And then like I'll miss things like the Italian market during the holidays.
Right.
I'll miss going to the city to get, Cash's pizza. I'll miss Little Vietnam in South Philly and getting a bowl of pho on a crisp fall morning.
Right.
For breakfast.
Yeah, you don't get crisp fall mornings anymore.
No. I'm not going to be able to sit and watch World Cup soccer with Vietnamese men while eating pho on a November morning.
You might be able to track that down. You might have to start watching Cuban soccer with Cuban people and their soup.
I'm fine with that.
But you should be able to track down that sort of
out of place
immigrant local who doesn't belong there, running a little shop sort of situation.
Yeah. So I was a little bit worried about not being able to find gelato down there.
Okay.
But I'm told that there's a gelato place close by. I don't know if they're going to be on par or what. But
right. I'm sure those sorts of things. I'm sure that you can either find them or find whatever the local equivalent is.
Yeah.
And be all right substituting out.
I will tell you this though. I hate to say thing because it's a person. Yeah. But the thing that I will miss the most is my niece Savannah.
Okay.
Who is, her and Sadie are 2 months apart, and they have been my babies since they were babies. You
Right.
know, like obviously Sadie's, I am with Sadie all the time, but
Yeah, she still lives here, right?
yeah, Savannah is also very much involved in a lot of adventures, and she's more of a rider a lot of times than Sadie is. Like
Okay.
when we were down in Georgia, I'm up at 7:00, and Savannah wakes up rubbing her eyes, and I go, I'm about to go bring Buddy to breakfast, and she goes, well, I'm going too. And
Let's ride.
you know what I mean? She's ready to rock and roll. Walked 2 miles, like she's ready to be on an adventure.
Right.
I'll go pick her up because I got to pass by my sister's house to go to Home Depot if I'm going for home. I'll stop by and go, hey, nah, I'm going to Depot, and she's got her shoes on before I finish the sentence.
Lacing them up.
So I dropped her off at the house yesterday, and I said something about Florida. I don't remember what it was. And she had a good cry for about 10 minutes. And I'm like, I get it, baby.
Yeah.
Like, I feel the same way. I am sad that I'm leaving. And I feel like I am kind of forfeiting a relationship with her as she grows up.
Right.
Whereas if we were here, this relationship that we have, as close as I am with her, would
continue to
continue until, whenever.
Yeah.
But I told her whenever she misses me, I will buy her a ticket. All she has to do is call me.
Right.
It just depends on how long Aunt Midge, Mommy, will let her stay there.
Right.
But I think, that's the one thing that really thus far has come up where it's like, oh, man.
There's no replacing that.
Right. There's nothing I could do for that.
Right.
Maybe we can convince Aunt Midge to let her come live down there with us.
Maybe on the summers at least, right?
Well, that's what I said. I said she can come all summer, and then
she can summer down south.
My sister was like, "No, you're not gonna take my baby all summer long." Yeah. Why don't we let her decide?
Yeah.
How about that? They're 3D printing houses now.
Yeah.
How crazy is that, dude?
It's wild.
Yeah.
They
don't seem to have it fully locked in.
No. And I've seen them. The thing I've seen the most is like there's only like 1 or 2 templates.
Right.
Like they don't necessarily. There's no diversity in it at all. If they're 3D printing them, they're all going to be this one particular style. Which I guess depending on why you're building them, like if you're building them to create like mid to low income housing so that people have houses, that's fine. But like that's not going to move over to like multi-million-dollar homes in Miami that are 3D printed yet.
Not yet, right. Yeah. I have seen an example of like a pretty big house that was somebody lived in, because you know how they do that TikTok thing on the screen where they have the question or some comment, some hating ass comment, and they're like, well, how about this? Well, so the comment was like, nobody, I've never seen one lived in. We just see you printing them, but nobody's living in them. So they faked a guy living in a house and had him walk through saying that he lived in this house.
Right.
But yeah, for the most part, it seems like they're using it to print like tiny homes for homeless people or something, which I think is a phenomenal use of it.
Yeah.
Right? Because now, maybe not quite yet, but probably in the near future, now your cost for building that tiny house is way down.
Minimized, yeah.
And that makes more sense to say, hey, here's a little cabin that we've made for you. There's nothing in it, but it's better than sleeping out under the moon.
Right.
So here you go.
And then I hate the way this is going to sound, but like
go for it.
You
Republican.
You test this out on that, on the low income and on the homeless.
Right.
Because they're not in a position to really make demands.
Yeah.
And then you find out what works and what doesn't work, and then you improve it for the people who are going to pay you the big money. And by the time you get there, like you said, now you figured out production to a point where every time a middle class person buys a house, you can build 3 small huts. Like buying Toms, right? Like what's that? They're Toms, right?
Yeah.
It's like buying Toms. You
buy
a
one
house,
pair,
we make a house
one.
over here.
Yeah, not a bad idea. There's what's US? Robot dog.
Yeah.
So don't worry about the Mexican guys coming in and taking your concrete job because they're out of luck too.
Yeah.
You know? 9 minutes remaining. Birds 25-11 against the Buccaneers.
Can't put up 70 points apparently.
No. But the 3D printed stuff, it's cool. But however, there is a little bit of my thought process that kind of goes to that very blue collar idea of like, well, what the hell, man? You're eliminating the guys.
You're eliminating certain guys, yeah. Because even on the 3D printed houses I've seen, you still need a plumber. You still need electricians.
You're gonna need those. The only guy that gets eliminated,
the bricklayer.
Yeah,
the bricklayer's in trouble.
You're not gonna be able. You're not gonna have a crew of guys setting brick foundation,
right? Or even there's not framing, right? They don't have framing or anything.
No, but if you're, well, I guess not in that execution, in that performance, in that, I don't know, style of building houses.
Okay. Method.
I had a word, I just can't get to it. In that style of building houses, you probably wouldn't have a framer anyway.
Okay.
Because if you're building a house that's that small,
right,
that's really like a one or 1.5 room house, and if you're building it out of cinder blocks, any of the interior walls are they're just going to throw them up in cinder blocks instead of bringing a framer in to do it. So
gotcha.
Now it looks like even on the bigger houses, you're right. They do eliminate the framer and they're doing the whole thing, even interior walls in concrete, in 3D printed concrete. So
right,
it takes those guys away. I guess it opens up a new industry, so there's some chance to get there. But here's the problem, is it seems like the guys who can get their foot in the door with the 3D printing houses industry probably got to be technically smart.
Sure.
You got to understand how the robot works. Yeah. So, the knuckleheads like me who just happen to know how to mix mud and lay bricks on top of each other, but wouldn't have a half of an idea on how to, set the program for a robot to run, you're out of luck in that industry.
Or you assimilate, or you quickly.
Yeah, but a lot of guys are not going to be.
Oh, I totally agree.
Smart enough, so that leaves them in the dust.
But that also leaves this window. So you were talking about your drive. That leaves this small little window here where like there's going to be a need for more people than who exist to do this. And so either you're a person with the drive to figure it out and get over to the other side of it, or you die off on your side.
Yeah, I'm not listen, as cliche as it sounds, the way that I see the economy and the world working currently is I hate this phrase, but it's very true that the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer.
Sure.
Which means like as poor people, or let's take the middle class line, right? As if you're under the middle class line, you're spending money on consumer goods, housing, clothes, whatever, your car, this, that, and a third. That money is getting paid over top of the line.
Right.
Those guys are not spending that money.
No.
They're just sitting on it and letting their wealth grow.
Right.
So now that money is no longer below the line, being spread around on things like this, that, and the third.
Pushed upwards and then frozen.
And then doesn't come back down.
Right.
So I say that because I am not worried about me, because I am trying to get above the line before it's too late.
Right.
If you're, just below that middle class line or at that middle class line, there's still a small chance for you to get above the line and be on the right side of the economy. If you're way below it, I think at this point, unless you can figure out sports or a career in the arts, or you can start a successful YouTube channel,
right,
you're not going to get above the line the old-fashioned way. It just seems less and less likely. So I don't worry about me, because I'm close enough to the line that with the drive and with the right moves, I can get above it. I could probably, if I had the interest, could get into the field of 3D printing houses. Mm-hmm. My worry is for the guys who just need to survive.
Right.
Just need to live. Those guys who wouldn't have the drive. They just want to show up and get a paycheck and be able to feed their family and live in a house. Right? And have a little bit of money so when they're 65, they don't have to swing a hammer anymore. But it's just not working out that way. Those guys you're getting the shit end of the stick.
Yeah.
And this is just another industry in which that's happening.
But that's the history of everything, right?
Yeah.
At some point, there were some really good horseshoe makers that don't really need to exist anymore, just like there were buggy whip makers.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate, but there's always going to be transitions where there's going to be large groups left out in the cold.
I agree. Yeah. And yes, it has happened historically in the past. But it's happened in the past, and then that group of people has disappeared. Mm-hmm. And maybe they assimilated elsewhere. But then they assimilated elsewhere to a job that then has disappeared.
Right.
Which they So now we're getting to the point where somewhere down the line, there's not going to be
a next job.
Yeah. I would say that the only thing left to do is dig holes, but that's going to be done.
That's going to be automated.
Yeah. It's going to be done by a robot. Where you're losing opportunities here. And I'm not against I think the 3D printing houses thing is cool.
Right.
But I think that there is a vast disparagement of opportunity to have a normal life without being above the line already.
Right.
Or
at least close enough to
or
it.
striking it lucky with a big money scheme.
Gotcha.
So, I don't know.
That was fun.
I don't know, man. Bananas are mutating.
Sure.
That's what I do know.
Since the beginning. Mm-hmm. We don't even touch bananas anymore. We never have.
That's true.
Bananas are these giant mushy seeded things until we started mutating them out.
How much big? They were bigger than they are?
They were a little bigger than they were, but they were completely like watermelon as far as how much seed was inside of them.
Yeah.
And now there's no seed inside of it. Well, like a little bit, but there's no seed inside of it.
I don't know if I ever saw a banana seed, unless it's the little black thing on the end.
Well, no, like when you cut them and you see like those little nubs in the middle.
Yeah,
that's about it. But it used to be.
But you can eat them.
When you cut it open before, it used to just looked like there was bugs inside of it. There was so much seeds in it.
Yeah.
And we decided that's not a good idea, so we mutated them out, and now we got what we got.
But what I'm saying, I think they're being even further mutated.
Okay.
Right? I can remember being a boy, a sweet, innocent boy.
As you've described.
And I was a fan of bananas.
Sure.
I'm still a fan of bananas. Not like I once was, I feel, though. I once went on an all bananas bread and milk diet to try and gain weight in my teenage years.
Okay.
I was trying to put on muscle, and I had no knowledge of what muscle, how to put on muscle. So
obviously, you fueled it with carbohydrates and fructose.
So I just kept stuffing my face with bread, bananas, and milk. And as it turned out, for a 16-year-old kid who's already in decent shape, that works to get you in better shape. I used to be able to just peel a banana.
Okay.
I can no longer snap and peel the banana. Right. I have to cut the top of a banana now.
Do you ever go through that realization that you're peeling it wrong anyway?
You're supposed to peel it from the bottom?
Yeah. Well yeah. You're supposed to, we grab the part that's got like the stem on it and try to split that out. You're supposed to grab it from the other side and pinch it a little bit and then go like this.
Why? Because monkeys do that?
Well, I mean, they'd be the authority on it, wouldn't they?
Maybe.
You can't do it the other way anymore.
You're right.
Give it a whirl.
But that's what I'm saying. It's almost like the stem and the skin has gotten harder over time, so now it just can't be snapped back.
See, I felt like it's the opposite. Like it's gotten softer to where when you move it, it doesn't come apart. It just kind of wiggles with you.
Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Well, the skin is more durable, and the fruit inside is maybe a little mushier.
A little softer. Yeah.
And so it makes for a bad combination. You can't peel a banana acoustically anymore.
No.
There's no acoustic banana peeling. You need mechanics.
Yeah, there's no coffee house bananas anymore.
Nah, it's fucked up, dude. Let me just tell you this last thing because we've been on for a while.
You don't do smash and trash?
I just asked you 5 minutes ago what you wanted to talk about.
We talked about
you
that
didn't
thing.
come up with anything.
I absolutely did. We talked about Florida.
Smash and trash me. That's what I was talking about. I knew you said you had something going on. What do we got? Payday beats?
I got 2 payday beats.
All right.
I'm not going to make any comments except to play them.
I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you this, boys. He's obviously very proud of them.
Clearly.
Or else he would not bring them to the table saying, hey,
we need to do this.
we got to let everybody hear this and see if they like it or they hate it.
I'd wait for you to ask. So anyway, if that was the case.
You're feeling on fire lately.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here's the thing.
See, I don't like to say that,
Usually-
although
no.
you've read it perfectly. I don't like to say that
Yeah.
because then it gives you the platform to go, it was all right.
Well,
and just break my heart.
I would never do it unless it was true.
Well, right.
But usually me and you don't always line up of what you think is super hot and
Agreed.
what I think is hot. A lot of times you go, I really thought you would like this one
Over this one.
Right.
Right.
And I like the second one, and I think it's absolute fire. And the first one that you like, I'm
Right.
just kind of like,
a little discombobulated.
it's not bad, but
Yeah. No, that's the other part, but that's fine. Like, I listened to, I didn't feel the same way you felt about it. I get it. But I don't like to lead with this is amazing because then it's just like,
I never shoot you down just to shoot you down.
So here's one of them.
All right, let's hear it. My mic, there you go. I need my mic still on.
Gotcha.
That's gritty. Okay. I keep having to guess which way it's going. I keep thinking it's going to loop. It's an extended pattern here.
Try not to make it loop too much. Like give it a little bit of a
I like that. I like that. This is very... Bruh. I'm in Cleveland. East Cleveland. Maybe on St. Clair. East 1999, perhaps even.
Okay.
Slinging dummies. They call me the dummy man. This sounds very... It doesn't sound Bone Thugs. It just sounds gritty, dirty Cleveland.
Yeah.
And every piece that comes in fits. I think it's the piano.
The chords in the back.
Yeah. That's great. It's a great bed for it. And those little things. Your little chattering teeth in the background placed there very nicely. And what I know you played it on the keys, but it's maybe a harp sound or something.
The main thing, yeah, it's a harpsichord. It's not a harpsichord, it's a harp.
And I can't really feel it the way I want to, but I know that the bass is heavy.
The bass is heavy.
Yeah.
It's one of the few that I've ever mixed and then gone back and brought the bass.
Had to turn it down a little bit.
It was too much.
Yeah. Yeah, the chords set a great sound bed, and then everything else in between. It's a fantastically crafted beat, without a doubt. Very, we like guys who are mechanically and solid in the craft of the thing that they do.
Right.
As far as the science of putting the beat together and the craft of making all these pieces come together, A+. And the mix is great. It's mixed the way it should be mixed, I think. Is this your final mix?
Most likely, yeah.
Yeah. It's not. It's not exciting.
Okay.
But it's not really. It's dirty.
In my mind, if it went the way I thought it was going to go, you would place it in the same arena as
Haitian Mercs?
Haitian Mercs.
It's in the same arena as Haitian Mercs. Haitian Merc has something that's a little bit more exciting to it, but it also, but the underlying tone of Haitian Mercs is this kind of gritty and darkness, and you're in an alley and the shadows of East Cleveland.
Okay.
Very well done. Very well done. I think it's great. I think that you were right to feel yourself on that.
All right.
We got to get that to somebody.
I'm more than happy to. I got to figure out who or
yeah.
how. I think
Yeah.
is the more important thing.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the other one.
All right. Obviously, this is
That's
the
a
one
lot to live up to.
Yeah, well, this is the one that you like better.
Actually, no.
Okay. This is the one you think I'll like better.
Possibly.
Yeah. That's why you're playing it second.
Beats from Payday. Payday.
Starting with a beautiful piano.
Get to it.
Squeezing too many percussions in there.
Okay, the extra breakdown's not doing it for you?
Nah.
That's easy to pull out.
Your main section here is solid.
Okay.
It's not as good as the other one.
Okay.
This section's good, and I think that they are both equally busy, probably.
Okay.
Like they both probably have a similar amount of tracks.
Right. You think the other one melds together better, though?
It melts together perfectly. This one is a little bit frantic in like a kind of a. The other one, you're guessing. And it's like, I don't know where I can't keep with the melody. I can't follow the loop. This one you can't follow the loop, but it's too frantic.
Is it just that drum? That fourth drum?
Maybe. Like there are sections of it that are good. This section is good, but again, maybe it is the fourth drum.
Okay.
Maybe the fourth drum is too much. I think also you had a lot to live up to.
So you think I wrote this one second?
No, because you never know what you did.
Okay.
You played this one second.
Well, yeah.
So so it's a lot to live up to because you played it second. But there's no telling what happens with you. Sometimes you come in and you're like, I just wrote this one on my way here. And it's absolute fire. And then sometimes you come in and you're like, I've been tweaking this one for a couple weeks. I've been waiting for to let you hear it. And then it's not what the one that you did in 5 minutes is.
All right.
And sometimes vice versa.
Yeah. I don't have any feel for what other people are going to.
Yeah, that one was fine. It was not play the first one again. It was fine.
Okay.
And I'm not going to lie to you because on a beat like this, you can only talk truth.
That's what it's there
When
for.
this kind of music is playing behind you, you have no choice but to tell truthful, painful, disheartening tales of a juvenile delinquency or possibly crimes against humanity, genocides, homicides, humanity suicides, pesticides, herbivores, omnivores,